Hello, I'm Liz Zorab and this is Byther Farm, and today I want to introduce you to my friend Heather Jo Flores.
Hola!
Heather and I met via the wonders of the interwebs, and so what you're about to see is recorded from her home in Europe.
I'm Heather Jo Flores, and I'm a writer and a gardener and a teacher and an interdisciplinary artist, and I live in southern Spain, up in the mountains. And I'm here today to talk about permaculture and food not lawns.
I know sometimes it's really hard to say what it is that's inspired something, but can you tell me about your book, Food Not Lawns?
Well, Food Not Lawns was published in 2006, but we started the first chapter of Food Not Lawns in Eugene in 1999. And so that was a group of us who were doing Food Not Bombs for several years before that, cooking and serving free meals in the park to local homeless and hungry people in Eugene. So we've been doing that for several years, and the natural inclination was to start growing some of the food that we were cooking up and serving to the community. So we were sort of jokingly calling it the Food Not Lawns Garden, and that just kind of stuck. And it stuck in a lot of places, and a few other chapters started up within a few months of ours, and this movement kind of grew from there.
That was amazing. And after the book, what happened then? Did you just go back to what you were doing before? Did it all fizzle out? What happened?
So Food Not Lawns came out in late 2006, and I spent about the next couple of years in between touring, spending time touring, because I was living in a tiny house in Oregon, which was not really hospitable in the winter anyway. And so then I would spend the winters touring in California and the Southwest and promoting the book and helping communities turn yards into gardens and neighborhoods into communities and organizing local seed swaps. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then I sort of dropped out. You know, I went through a long period of depression and displacement and had to leave the farm where I had been at for several years and was struggling, going from place to place and trying to find the right place for me. And I ended up going back to school and getting deep into yoga and embodiment and really thinking about that zone zero and the inner landscape and started to think about how to apply permaculture principles to ourselves as the designers, as the center of our design. And it's an interesting balance that we have to come to as permaculture designers, as ecofeminists, as stewards of the plants. We have to figure out a way to take care of ourselves and take care of the earth and take care of the logistics and all of the things that need to go on in order for us to, continue to exist in this, what is still patriarchal capitalistic culture. We have to find that balance. And it's sort of an extra challenge for us to navigate all of these layers of health that we pursue and all of these layers of ecological sanity that we're pursuing. And again, even though I was stepping away from permaculture and stepping away from activism and trying to do something else with my life, focusing on music and art and writing, I still kept coming around to these design principles and to the permaculture design process, the GOBRDIEM design process, which I use in all of my classes. So GOBRDIEM is an acronym for goals, observation, boundaries, resources, analysis, design, implementation, maintenance, and evaluation. And it's this sort of magic formula that you can apply to organizing anything, and it really works well when applied to your inner landscape. And I was able to use these tools combined with just the permaculture principles. So there's permaculture ethics and permaculture principles, and the ethics are the rules that we choose to adhere to, caring for the earth, caring for each other, caring for the future. And the principles are the laws that we really have to obey. They're the laws of nature that, generally, as human societies, we tend to sort of try to work against, and that causes all of these problems that we're now dealing with as a global humanity. But so permaculture looks at these laws and applies them, and then the design process helps us actualize these principles and ethics in our day-to-day physical experience of the world. So I started experimenting with applying those to my mental health process and to helping other people navigate their process, and found that it's wonderful, not just for dealing with darkness and sadness and depression, but also for stimulating creative flow. So we apply these ideas to ourselves, and that helps us to empower us to apply these ideas to the landscape and to create paradise wherever we are.
I'm here in my small piece of paradise which you've watched me develop over the last 2 or 3 years. But Heather, what's your garden like? What is your space that you work in like?
Okay, so it's a 1/4 acre Mediterranean food forest. We have 30 fruit trees here and about 200 species of annuals and perennials and biennials of all different shapes and sizes, and I'm trying to increase the diversity all the time. So this is partially a seed garden for conservation and for growing out certain varieties that are well adapted to this bioregion. And it's also a subsistence garden, and it's also a demonstration garden. I use this garden a lot to take photographs and to create content for the online courses. But I'm not actually teaching any local classes at all. And I've sort of discovered that my mental health as an extreme introvert, all of those years of being very public and being out in the streets activist all the time, it was a little too much for me. So now I only teach online.
I met Heather when I took the emotional permaculture course 2 years ago, and that was absolutely brilliant for me. It just allowed me to have enough time and space to kind of think about how I fit with my surroundings, how they work for me and I work with them, and what the interrelationship is between my environment and what I do on a daily basis.
I use this garden and I interact with the plants in person, and I get what they teach me, and I translate that to the online classes. And there is a local seed group here that I do volunteer with once in a while, but there is a lot of biodiversity. It's a really incredible place to be growing plants and to be doing agriculture on the ground, and I really enjoy the balance between being here with these plants and then connecting with humans online.
I'm really pleased that you've come out of that low mood and headspace that you were in, Heather, because from that's come some really productive and creative things.
In 2017, I started the Permaculture Women's Guild. A lot of the traditional permaculture teachers and courses really emphasize land management, and they say, yes, we have 3 ethics: care of the earth, care of the people, limits to growth and consumption, or distributing the surplus, or however you interpret the 3rd ethic, fair shares. But that in action was looking a lot more just like landscape design. And not only was there not enough in terms of whole systems working together as an ecology, but there seemed to be an open dismissal of the social issues that are so important in a permaculture system. So a lot of the women that I know and that have been working with other women who are authors, other women who have been colleagues of mine for decades now in the permaculture community, we were all noticing a lot of these same patterns. And so that's where the Permaculture Women's Guild came from.
I'm a member of the Permaculture Women's Guild, and eventually you'll find some of my videos there too. But Heather, do you work exclusively with women now?
So everyone we work with is not female. We have lots of male students. We have lots of students from any and every gender. But all of our teachers are women and people who identify as women. And that's because we've noticed a lack of balance in the voices that are being heard in the permaculture community. So we're trying to create space for women and space for people of color, and we're currently looking for more teachers from the Global South. So I just wanted to put that out there. If you're watching this and you live in the Global South, or you're a woman of color and you have a significant amount of experience and you'd like to teach permaculture with us, then please do get in touch.
I know you offer some of your courses for free, because I took the emotional permaculture course, which was a free course. But why is it that you feel it's important to offer courses and information free?
So I grew up in a relatively impoverished environment, and had there been more free permaculture resources available to me, or had I known about the resources available to me, my whole life would have unfolded differently. So one of the reasons that I like offering things for free is just in case somebody really, really needs it. But the other thing is that it cultivates this atmosphere of abundance, and it sends the message that there's enough. And so, some of our classes are not free. The ones that require one-on-one mentorship and that give the student an opportunity to really develop what could become a lifelong connection with a knowledgeable elder, those classes cost a little bit of money, and that knowledgeable elder gets paid accordingly. And so do I for my time. But I try to make a balance of having an equal amount of totally free, accessible resources that are just pay if you want. If you're feeling it, make a donation, and we get enough. and that the abundance comes around. So it's funny because I'm really not like a woo-woo person, and I'm really hyper pragmatic and not super spiritual, but I have to say I'm a big believer in abundance theory because it works.
If you're in my Facebook group, you'll know that I already post links quite regularly to Heather Jo's courses. And if you're not in my Facebook group, please do join. And I'll also leave links to Heather's book in the information below, and also to her websites.
The easiest way to get involved is just to go to freepermaculture.com or permaculturewomen.com, whichever one appeals to you, and check it out. And there's lots of resources there for you. There's a free Permaculture Principles coloring book. There's a free emotional permaculture course. There's a free year-long, don't be scared, it's a year-long, but each class is teeny tiny. So once a week you get delivered a little permaculture class that you can use to walk yourself step by step through designing permaculture paradise. Or if you're ready to go all in, we have a double certificate permaculture design course with 40 different female teachers from around the world. And you get your 72-hour traditional permaculture ecological landscape design certificate. And then we also have an extra advanced certificate in social systems if you want to go deeper into the eco-psychology and emotional permaculture and the other things that are really, part of what's happening right now in the world. If we're going to overcome what we're facing ecologically and socially as a species, we're going to have to really change what it means to be human here on this planet. And so that's something that I'm really interested in, and something that I am trying to participate in with my work. And I look forward to connecting with more people.
Heather, thank you so much for answering my questions and for sharing your beautiful garden with us. And we will no doubt catch up again very soon.